Hey, Felicia.
Hey, Rachel.
So this is a special YouTube video of the two of
Well,
us.
hopefully one of many to
I
come.
agree. I agree. We are inspired today to speak to the world about the hellscape that is this current,
2025.
this current timeline. And, we just got an email, an unsubscribe email from someone who is so mad about what we said about the atrocities in Palestine, Gaza, that she is no longer going to share our free newsletter or resources with her company and is going to recommend.
No! Oh my God, I can't even. Yeah, I mean, if anyone is watching this, like, this is literally why we were like, we need to get on and talk about this because there's a lot to unpack here.
Lasai.
But yeah, I mean, we get unsubscribes, not all the time, but it happens.
Of
It's fine.
course.
Whatever. We're not like hurt about it really, but
No.
it's
But
interesting to see why people choose to not learn and listen from our wonderful selves. But we haven't gotten one of these in a while, I will say.
true. And I will say that when we get unsubscribes, I mean, look, I got to clean my inbox sometimes. I totally appreciate
I'm
that.
always, and I resubscribe too sometimes
Yeah,
because I'm like, oh
totally.
no, I did it by accident, but
Yeah, there's
it
so many
happens.
reasons, but I will say that, in being vocal in this space, it has been interesting to get, I don't think we've gotten as much pushback on pretty much anything else as we have on this particular topic, which I just think is really, really interesting and frankly kind of sad.
Yeah, I mean, we were just chatting before we hit record, and I was mentioning, and we were kind of both discussing and thinking back. So, we've been in business for over 10 years at this point, which yay for us. But, we've had moments during the last decade or so that we've had stuff come up, and namely the two major other points I'm thinking of are in 2016.
Mhm.
So right before the elections, or not right before necessarily, but like leading up to the elections at that point, we had historically been neutral around
Yep.
politics. And we were trying to be very welcoming and inclusive, which has always been a hallmark of our brand. And so we made a point to not really get into politics or talk too much about it. And do you remember the turning point? Was it the
Oh,
Pussygate,
yes.
the
Oh, I
situation?
remember. I remember vividly. Yes, it was the
Yeah.
Access Hollywood tape. When that came out, basically we were like, well, we are a group that supports women. And so this was a very clear indicator that this person does not in any way respect women. And we've only obviously seen this grow. And so, yeah, so we made the conscious choice to say, okay, we are going to be vocal about it.
Yeah, we're not
And
neutral anymore.
yeah.
We're
And
taking a
and
stance.
yeah, and some people decided that our community was no longer for them because we were being political, and that's fine. We believe that there is not really a separation. The political is personal. I mean, you can believe whatever you want, but that is our truth and that's our experience.
Well, and I was reminiscing because we didn't take that decision lightly, and
Mm-mm.
we had a lot of conversation between the two of us about whether or not we should take a stance. And I think one of the factors in us, we're small business owners, we are 50-50 owners. We basically get to say what this company does, where it goes, what it takes a stand for. And, obviously the company reflects who we are. And so, there's definitely been a lot of discourse, I think, over the last several years, especially around like companies are people, or sorry, they aren't people, although some people might want to beg to differ, but companies aren't people, they're neutral, whatever. But I think personally, like the reality is that a company reflects who is in charge. And so, for us, I think it really was about like reflecting our values, and we wanted to hold fast to that. And it's, something where we made that decision knowing that we would maybe get pushback or that people would unsubscribe. And that was okay. And I think a lot of companies, and we see this with even some of our clients, like they're afraid to go public because they are afraid of that backlash. And obviously, we're really small, so it's not at the same scale, but
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think it is true. Yeah, obviously we're really small, but there's risks, right? There's certainly risks. Look, what we do is not popular right now, and that is just the fact. People are just, yeah, they're really scared. I think they're really scared of what is happening, and that fear is showing up in ways that where, people are caring less and
Mhm.
about others, which is a real bummer. But there is a bright point, which I would love for you to talk about the Axios article that came out as
Yeah.
a contrast.
Yeah, I'm gonna look off to the side so I can pull it up here. But
Yeah.
basically, it's from August 6th of this year. It's by a reporter named April Rubin, and the title is Americans Now Support Corporate Activism Again, colon. Okay.
Yay.
And basically, the takeaway is that I guess US adults used to not really want corporations to be activists. And, that was a trend that seems like it kind of began after 2022, which is interesting because that actually refers to the second moment that I referred to earlier, which was around Black Lives Matter, with specifically George Floyd's murder in 2020. That was another time where, again, as individuals and as a company, we took a stance around supporting Black Lives Matter and coming out around that and sharing, just resources and getting deep into racial justice and all that stuff. And I don't remember there being as big of like a backlash necessarily.
Oh no, at the time, I mean, that's what everyone was doing.
Everyone
So
was
we
kind of
were
swept up in it, right?
yeah, the difference is that we just have continued to do it.
Right. And so I think with this 2022 marker that Axios mentions in their article,
Mhm.
that corresponds to when we also started to see a backlash against DEI. And so I think that those two things are definitely correlated. But basically the takeaway here is that according to their survey, the top four or five like topics that people, employees specifically, are saying that they want their companies to take a public stance on include free speech, climate change, mental health, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then healthcare issues is rounds out the top five. And then there's a whole bunch of other stuff too, which include things like abortion, religion, LGBTQ, guns,
Racial issues.
and international conflicts, like all this kind of stuff. But top five includes DEI. And I thought that was so interesting because it is showing this kind of like sea change, which I
Yeah.
think people are like, no, we don't want to work for companies that are evil.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, look, because they are made up of people. Like we have, this is all connected, and we'll put a link to this article in the description because I think it's important for other people to see it, and we'll do a little graphic also. But yeah, I think it is really interesting to note this, and what does that mean for the rest of 2025 into 2026? I think it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out because it does feel like there has just been a level of selfishness from so many people that I genuinely just hope that people shift quickly because time
Well,
is
I
not,
mean,
or it's not going to be, we're not going to have this time for much
I
longer,
know, I know.
you
Oh my
know?
God, I know. And I think that's why it's so important to have like these kinds of conversations. And it's important, I do think it is important, like surveys aside, just in general, like you and I both believe that we need to stand up for what we believe in.
Always.
We had a lot of conversations 2 years ago when, the initial attacks happened in Israel with Palestine and Hamas and everything. And, we talked about, do we say anything? We really deliberated. We got pushed back because people were emailing us saying, like, why didn't you say something sooner? And we're like, well, we didn't want to just knee-jerk react, say anything right away. We were really reflecting and thinking about what did we want to say or how did we want to put it out there. And, and I shared quite a bit on my personal channels, and I had people who were, former coworkers who I really loved and admired who would be emailing me or messaging me, being really upset with how I was talking about things or what I was saying. And, it really, I won't say like damaged, but it definitely impacted relationships. But, when this email came in, I think both you and I are like, whatever, like, so sorry that you're not going to use our free resources anymore. Like, it's really not going to hurt me. So,
Yeah, and we lost a corporate sponsor back in, I want to say it was 2017 or 18, something like that, when the first Trump administration was rounding up people and putting them in cages, and one of our
mhm.
sponsor companies was providing furniture.
Building the cages.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I believe they were providing furniture
Oh,
actually.
is that what it was?
I
Okay.
think so. I will not
Yeah.
name the company, but
Well,
you could probably
I
guess.
think people can figure it out. It's
But
a
yeah, we
well-known company.
and we actually had one of our community members at the time was like, "Ooh, are you sure you want to sponsor?" And that was really all it took. I think we were thinking about it anyway,
Well,
and
and
then
just to be clear, like when you say we lost, we chose to let
oh
them
yeah,
go.
yeah,
They didn't see themselves out. We chose to not work with them anymore. So
we returned the funds to
yeah.
them, the sponsorship dollars to them, which we were like, well, we'll just donate the proceeds to races, and they were like, nope, not going to
Oh
do
yeah, I
it.
forgot about that because we said we'll be happy to continue to work with you, but we're gonna take your money and donate it, and they would not let us do that,
They were like, no, you have to keep the money, which I don't think they could have really
which
told
is
us
so wild.
what to do with it. But yeah, but at the end of the day, like the way they responded to it, which by the way was their PR team, of course, was the people that we were working with, which was not the people that we were working with prior. It was
They weren't that great either.
yeah. So it was, but the point is that, we do our best to stick with our values. It is a really hard, messy time. I think I would just encourage companies, leaders to lean into really where what is it going to take to make sure that you can wake up in the morning and feel excited to do the work that you're doing and go to sleep at night feeling like you did everything you could. And look, no one is perfect. We are certainly not perfect. I want to make that very clear.
Yes.
Everybody's a work in progress, but it is really worth it to take the time to evaluate really what matters to you. And you know what? Look, at the end of the day, if the dollars are the things that matter most to you, and like that is ultimately the most important thing, more
Well,
power,
that's on you. Sure.
more
Whatever.
power to you. You will be fine, I'm sure.
I mean, listen, like I think that we are in a stage where the reality is it is not a great time for our industry, but we are still leaning into our values because that is what helps you and me sleep at night.
Yeah.
And like we could be making different choices and
Yeah.
maybe we will in the future. I don't know, but like at this moment in time, like I think it's more important than ever, given the shit show that is happening all around us, to basically hold true to like what are the beliefs that you hold. And if you don't feel like you can stand up for that, then maybe they're not that important to you. So
Yeah, I agree. I think that's really what it comes down to. And we are very lucky, very privileged that we're able to do this. And I would just encourage other people to think the same way as, what is it in your lives that you feel good about? And then yeah, lean into that. We are in interesting times and it will continue to evolve. And look, we're going to be here and we are not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but that's okay. We're going to continue to show up and speak our minds and lead with love and kindness and, wish the best. Honestly, wish the best for everyone who is out there because we all know that everybody is doing the best they can. So,
yeah,
including us, doing what we can.
we're trying.
We're trying. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.